Although the 2024 election only wrapped up about 6 months ago, the 2028 campaign has already begun. On the Republican side, J.D. Vance is seen as the front runner as of right now. Polling indicates that he has roughly a 31% lead over the next opponent in a Republican primary. And for the Democrats, Pete Buttigieg has been emerging over the past few months as really a leader in the Democrat Party. Recent polling race to the White House without Kamala Harris in their aggregate. Buttigieg is leading the field by 3 percentage points, gaining about 17 points in total. With Harris in a race, he is sitting about 14 points behind her at 14.3 percentage points going into the Democrat primaries in 2028. Now, this is going to be a high-stakes presidential election for the Democrats and the Republicans. How will the Republican Party grasp with the post-Donald Trump reality of the Republican Party? And how will Democrats really rise themselves back up from the dead? How will they move forward after really a hideous showing in the 2024 election when they lost all 7 swing states, they lost the popular vote, they lost huge amounts of supports from minorities, from women, from men, from young voters, from Hispanic voters. It was just truly a horrific showing for them. So we're going to be talking about a potential matchup between J.D. Vance and Pete Buttigieg in a 2028 presidential matchup. Now, J.D. Vance, he is a former senator from Ohio. He's an author, a venture capitalist, and the current vice president of the United States. Obviously, rose to fame with his 2016 memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, really talking about working class struggles as a young man in the Rust Belt of America. Now, Vance was once a huge Trump critic and now has completely embraced the MAGA movement with his Senate seat victory in 2022 and then as Trump's VP nominee and pick in 2024. He's really positioned himself as the heir to the Trump legacy. And Donald Trump, although has made some comments that may anger some people who are big fans of J.D. Vance that he's not going to endorse anyone yet, J.D. Vance is seen by many as the future of the Republican Party, along with people like Marco Rubio, people like Donald Trump Jr., people like Ron DeSantis. There's a lot of big names in this race, but I think it's fair to say that J.D. Vance, as of right now, is seen as the front runner. He's a skilled debater. He's very sharp when it comes to policy discussions and has a serious appeal with younger voters on his more economic nationalist policy prescriptions, you could say. Now, Pete Buttigieg, really, he's very different and very similar and the same. He's a younger guy. I believe he's about 46 right now, 45. He was the former U.S. Transportation Secretary and former mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Really rose to fame during the 2020 presidential election when he won the Iowa caucus, almost won the New Hampshire caucus. Put up such a formidable campaign that they gave him a secretary position in the Biden administration. Now he's a Navy veteran. And like we said, gained a lot of prominence from his 2020 presidential run. Now, Buttigieg, I would consider, is I don't want to say a rising star, but he is definitely has been starting to emerge as a leader in the Democrat Party. Known for really his calm and articulate style. He's a frequent guest on conservative media outlets like Fox News, which has earned him a lot of praise for being able to counter conservative arguments while appealing to moderates at the same time. Buttigieg is a great communicator. He's a skilled debater and has a knack for simplifying complex issues. Now, you can make the argument that does he simplify things maybe a little bit too much? Absolutely. But ultimately, we can say nice things about Buttigieg, but he has a huge problem, especially in a general election. Number one, he has a lack of really any statewide experience, elected experience, and has serious weakened support among minority voters. That was one of the big issues in the 2024 election, was that Democrats could not hold on to the minority vote. They couldn't. And then to turn around now and nominate someone who is very elitist, they need to work on winning back the working class, and to nominate someone like Pete Buttigieg, who is so elitist, gives off elitist vibes, not working class vibes. Definitely not. And then you're going to have someone who really struggles with minority voters when you saw Donald Trump win 3 out of every 10 3 out of every 10 people of color who voted in 2024. That's just the reality. But this is the map that we're going to be looking at going into this election. I believe the swing states are virtually going to stay the same. I think if anything, you can make the case that Nevada would maybe be a little more a little tilt red. Besides that, I think everything else, and I think you could make the case that Wisconsin might be a little tilt blue. But besides that, I think these are the toss-up races that we are going to be looking at here. You can make the case that maybe New Mexico could be a little closer. I don't know if we're there yet. I think that could be something in the future, definitely, but I don't know if we're there yet. New Jersey, I think that's something to keep your eye on as far as something that's becoming a more, maybe instead of a safe Democrat seat, maybe it's a lean or likely Democrat seat. Same with New York. I think things are definitely trending in that direction as of right now. But Buttigieg could 100% shake this whole map up in a terrible way for Democrats. Because Buttigieg has one huge issue, and it's not just with Hispanics, or I should say minorities, but it's with support among African Americans. It is a critical weakness for Buttigieg, given the fact that the black voter makes up a huge portion of the Democrat coalition. During the 2020 primaries, Buttigieg was polled at roughly 0% in some polls among black voters. And it led to one of his rapid declines early on. He won in Iowa, he won in New Hampshire, but he basically had no support anywhere else where there was a key constituency of African American voters. After the South Carolina primary, that's when you saw him drop out. Because black voters and their turnout is essential in places like Georgia, like North Carolina, like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, particularly in urban areas like Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit, and a significant drop in black turnout, even a 10% dropout in black turnout would devastate Democrats across the board. Their margins would just get annihilated, especially in these extremely, extremely black populated areas around the country. You're looking at Fulton, DeKalb, Clayton County. You could even look at Douglas or Rockdale County. Go into Minnesota, go to Hennepin County, Ramsey County. You go to Wisconsin, go to Dane County. There is serious amounts of concentrated black support throughout the country. And yes, has Georgia been trending to the left the last couple decades? I would say so. But the Democrat coalition in Georgia is on such shaky grounds, and for them to lose 10% of the support of black Americans, not even to vote for J.D. Vance, simply just to not vote at all would devastate them. And then you want to talk about Buttigieg's identity as an openly gay man would 100% alienate culturally conservative black voters, particularly in Baptist states like Georgia, like North Carolina, which would even further depress turnout. And this lack of appeal could 100% lead to losses in these key swing states and even traditionally Democrat strongholds like New York, like Illinois, like California, like New Jersey, where this black voter turnout is very crucial. Even places like Minnesota, you can make that case. Ultimately, he is very bad with minorities. And for those reasons, I believe Vance would get Nevada within 1 to 5 points. I think Arizona, J.D. Vance, I think he would get it within 1 to 5 points as well. Georgia, same thing, 1 to 5 points here. North Carolina, simply, you're looking at Hispanic support here, African-American support here. That's how I have it. Could I see Pete Buttigieg winning Wisconsin? I think I could. But do I think Minnesota might be a little closer? Do I think New York might be a little bit closer? I think so. Could Illinois be a little closer? If there is serious depressed, maybe even Virginia, depressed turnout among African-Americans, not necessarily losing the states, but their margins are going to be cut pretty deeply. It's like, you look right here. As far as Minnesota goes, Biden won it by 7.1. Harris only won it by 4. Virginia, Harris wins by less than 6. Biden won it by over 10. New Jersey's 15 plus Biden, 16 plus Biden. Harris won it by less than 6 points. Less than 6 points. Now, I think you can make the case that Buttigieg would have much stronger appeal in the Rust Belt. I think that's why you could make the case you could see him win in Wisconsin. Maybe. No chance he's winning Pennsylvania. Zero chance. You, the Democrats have a serious issue when it comes to white working class voters. We all know that. White working class voters is a huge issue for Democrats right now. Pete Buttigieg is the exact opposite of white working class. The appeal that he brings for Democrats is the exact opposite of that. He appeals to the same people, the people who make over $100,000. The people who maybe live in the suburbs, who maybe are more culturally liberal, socially liberal. Because Buttigieg has struggled since day one to connect with diverse voter groups, progressive, Hispanics, religious conservatives. Now, while I agree, he might be able to unite certain factions of the Democrat Party. His lack of really broad appeal to minorities is a serious liability, and it will limit his ability to build a broad coalition. And his, of course, lack of charisma and broad appeal would depress voter turnout. We're not even saying that these voters are going to turn out for the Republican Party. We're simply just saying that they're just not going to turn out, period. Because like we said, North Carolina, Georgia, Democrats, their coalition is on very shaky ground there on the national level. Very shaky ground. You know, in Georgia, Democrats have won 2 Senate seats. Those are the 2, I should say, in the last 5 years, they've won, what would that be, 4 elections then. They won in 2022. They won against Herschel Walker. Warnock won. Oh, I guess only 3. Warnock and then Ossoff both won. Huge victories, but ultimately, that very, very shaky ground that they have to be on, it was very bad candidate quality in 2022 that allowed Democrats to win. It was the fact that in 2020, Georgia had totally rejected Donald Trump. Now, it wasn't this huge, massive landslide against him. No, but there was obviously a revolt. Obviously, Donald Trump lost the state, and then both Republican senators lost re-election. You know, go with Hispanic voters. Buttigieg seriously lacks appeal with Hispanic voters. That will hurt him in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, and recent Republican gains with this working class Hispanic coalition, especially in urban areas like Clark County in Nevada, would exacerbate this issue. Completely exacerbate this issue. And it is openly gay candidate, Buttigieg is unlikely to make inroads with evangelicals or culturally conservative voters, even if they had voted for Democrats in the past. They may maintain some of it, they may lose some, but they're definitely not making any inroads. And then you want to talk about Palestinian and Arab Americans. Buttigieg's identity could 100% alienate Palestinian and Arab American voters in states like Michigan, like Minnesota, where these communities have huge growing populations of people from the Middle East and growing influence electorally. That's why I think that Michigan would vote for Trump. I think Minnesota, I don't know if it would flip. I don't think we're there yet. But do I think it could get really, really close? I think so. I 100% think so. And, hot take right here, you could even see Virginia getting within maybe, sorry about that, maybe within 2 or 3 points. It's like, I think there's a serious case to be made there. That if there's a serious collapse in black turnout in areas like Richmond and the South Central Black Belt, despite Democrats, their strengths in Northern Virginia, the area that lines right up with D.C. right up here, I think you could very, very much, just take a look back. Just go back to 2008 right here. Look at look how, I would say, weak some of these victories were right here. I think that's fair to say. Very weak victories. But then look at all of these. Now look, these are Trump plus 8, Trump plus 7, Trump plus 14. In the margin, we can look right here. We'll go from 2008. Look how much of the state has moved to the right. Look at how much of the state has moved to the right here. I think that's the hot take that you could take right here. But with J.D. Vance as the Republican nominee, I think you could see the Republicans have a much stronger appeal to working class voters, including union members, culturally conservative Black and Hispanic voters. Now, Vance may not be able to match Trump's evangelical support, but could 100% still outperform Buttigieg in these demographics. Now, Vance, I would project that he would win the popular vote by a bigger margin than Trump won by. I don't know the turnout. I don't think it would be as many raw votes, but I think that he would win the popular vote 2-3 percentage points in this matchup here, driven by gains in Hispanics, working class areas, and depressed turnout among African Americans and minorities for Buttigieg. So right now, I'm kind of around like a 302. Could you see New Mexico being a tilt, like the Republicans squeak it out by like a 0.5 percentage point? Is there a world where Minnesota and Wisconsin squeak out for the Republicans? Absolutely. I think so. In order of operations, I would say most likely you would see New Mexico flip and Colorado kind of move a little more to the center before you'd see Minnesota flip. But I don't think you're that far off. Maybe a couple more presidential elections is what you're off. And, Buttigieg might choose a more progressive running mate to try and shore up progressive support, but that's unlikely to really compensate for his total lack of appeal to minority voters. Totally. And we know Buttigieg, he's going to run. He's going to run in 2028. He passed up on a run for the Senate in Michigan. He passed up on a run for the governor's mansion in Michigan. Regardless of anything else we're hearing, and the fact that he's polling simply, if Kamala Harris, and let's talk about this. Yes, is Kamala Harris leading by 14 points? Yes. But she is at the peak of her name recognition. Wait until we get into the full swing of the campaign cycle. This margin will collapse. It will collapse overnight. And I really think Pete Buttigieg, although I think the Democrats, their bench is terrible. Like, you may listen to me earlier in this video and, Buttigieg, these are the things he's great at. Well, remember, this is all relative to the rest of the Democrat Party. This is not saying really anything about the Democrats in general. This is just all relative to the rest of the Democrat Party. Like, I don't think that okay, this is who the Democrats have. Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, Cory Booker, Gavin Newsom, Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Tim Walz. Out of the top, what is this? 8 people that are right here? I would say 1, maybe 2 are halfway decent candidates. And we're talking like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. Like Josh Shapiro and Gretchen Whitmer. Like, if they were smart, but I don't ever see the Democrats nominating a Jewish man. Like, if I'm just being 100% honest. But if I had to put my thumb on it right now, I'd probably say that Vance. I don't know if New Mexico is going to flip yet. Could it get close? I think so. But I see Vance winning 302. Not having, raw votes are down. Popular vote margin is up. But the electoral victory, not as big as Trump's, but ultimately, this still gets you the presidency for another 4 years against Pete Buttigieg. Now, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think that Democrats would actually be able to capitalize on this with minority voters? Do you think Buttigieg has a broader appeal than I think he does? Let me know down below. And as always, drop down below, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future. And folks, we will catch you next time.